Thank you. What a lovely young audience. I tell you, my normal audience is always, if my wife left me, the normal audience I get would look like my Tinder feed would look like, you know. I call them the beads and the bobs. Radio 4 listeners. So it's lovely to be here in trendy East London with a younger, hotter, more self-righteously political crowd. So I've got to be really careful, but I'm told I am allowed to redact anything from the video if I misspoke anything that you disagree with. Because, you know, I know that as young, intelligent, politically engaged people, you're very tolerant of everybody apart from those that disagree with you. So we're going to have fun tonight. And so I've called my talk. Let's just see if we can get it to work. Is it going to work? Am I pushing the right bit of this? This is new, apparently. Oh, here we go. Oh, no, my God. Look at that. Okay, I've called it I'm Winging It, because people always want rules. You know, one of the things we all struggle with, I think, often, is that we want to kind of relax because we want to give in a recipe for life. We can just read that recipe, then we never have to think again. You know, we never have to, you know, and I think the thing is that, I hate to tell you this, but, you know, the life will change and you just got to keep living in the moment and wing it and be spontaneous. The most valuable creative thing you can be is spontaneous and trust your intuition. There are no rules, you know. You better change and trust your intuition. It's a really difficult thing to do because people want rules. You know, they want to do it. So I'm going to try and give you some rules as part of this evening anyway. And so you want to be creative because you're creative people. And creativity is one of the words I really hate because it's always used by people that aren't. You know, it's a bit like aspiration and inspiration and passion, all those other words. But creative, if you Google the word creative, right, it's always like, let's see if we can get this to work now. Oh yeah, here we go. Okay, creative, this is the first thing that comes up in images on Google if you Google the word creative, okay? Creativity, okay? And there's always, you notice this, there's always a rainbow. There's always a rainbow. So creatives are very rainbow colored. It's very obvious, you know. There's the second thing that comes up on Google, right? These are correct, you know, creativity takes courage. I kind of agree with that, but there's also a rainbow, right? Then I thought, okay, I'm coming to the Sarabande Foundation, okay? See if I can get this to work now. Come on, technology. Beep. There we go. What is this about? How many people here are wearing mainly black? They don't want to put a fair sprinkle. A lot of them are embarrassed. I call it cowards black. This thing is really not one. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Because you know, sometimes now you sort of see people in the fashion and the art world's just as bad. Always wearing black. They think it makes them look thinner. These people are thin already. But I think it's very telling, you know, very telling. I think two of the big things you need to know if you're going to be creative, right? These are the two big questions that anybody needs to ask themselves, right? Who am I? And what do I want? Okay? These are very big existential questions that sound really easy, but actually take a lot of practice and self-reflection and thought to come up with, okay? Because who are you? Who are we? You know, who are we? You know, we often think now, identity is a word that comes up a lot nowadays, isn't it? It always makes me slightly get frightened, you know, because I know I'm going to get told off for something if the word identity comes up. But identity now, you know, and one of the things, like, for instance, oh, for frick's sake. Here we go. Like, here's what I am. I'm Grayson Perry Turner Prize winner. That's my full name, okay? And I said when I won the Turner Prize, this was a long time ago now, 16 years ago, I said, yeah, people in the art world were more shocked that I made pots than the fact that I was a transvestite, you know, because that was the kind of groovy sort of identity to have, you know, being a bit, because, you know, I practically invented being a transvestite then, you know. You know, it wasn't all over the place like it is now. But pottery, that was shocking. I mean, you could drag a shark into a gallery and that was, you know, that was original. But to put pottery in the gallery, that was naff. But I mean, I can be. We've all got multiplicity of identities, right? You know, we all like to. You know, what's our headline of our identity? It changes all the time, doesn't it? I mean, it's like here I am. I'm a father. I'm a husband. Oh God, this thing is really. I'm gonna get the knack of it. It's obviously a skill that I haven't quite got yet. I'll put that around like that. I'm a TV presenter. I make the TV programs. So everybody has a kind of multiplicity of identities. But this is a diagram given to me by Kate Fox, the anthropologist, right? This shows the pyramid of our identity, right? So we've got different things. And the things at the top are the things we share with everybody. Like we're all human, hopefully, right? We've all got a sex. We're here. We're all part of modern Western culture, national culture, social class, tribe, family, upbringing, education. So it gets less and less things that we share as we go down. Right at the bottom, right, that little point right at the bottom, that's you. So we all like to think we're individual, but most of our identity we share. And also there's lots of different layers of it, and we all kind of have different headlines on different days. So whenever people bang on about their fucking identity, I always want to say, yeah, I agree, you are that, whatever you want to say you are, right? But it's not the most interesting thing about you, soz. Because we're all a mixture, and it depends on who you're with, and in what, you know, what's the headline on the day. It's like, you know, I am this, whatever it is, you know, like, yeah, okay, mate, just don't bang on about it. Let it lie for a bit, okay? Obviously, I've got my, you know, things that I get. And what do you want? What do you want to make? You know, this is a big question. Nowadays, we've all got our little things in our phone, our little iPhones, every image in the world in our pocket. So we got an amazing choice. When I was at art college, you know, in the 1970s, we had 3 TV channels and a little library in the art college, you know, and that was our resource. Now you've got Google or whatever, you've got everything. It's impossible to shut it's like going to one of those restaurants where there's like a 4-page menu, but you've got a 40 billion page menu. It's impossible. So I did this little diagram. Here we are. I did this little diagram of like, how do you know what you want, right? So you've got things you care deeply about, okay? That's things that you're passionate about, whatever it might be. I don't know what it is. Things you like the look of. You know, if you're in the visual arts like me, things you like the look of, okay? Then things that hipsters haven't noticed yet, okay? Now, hipsters, I know, is an old-fashioned phrase. I like to call them now, I call hipsters normal people now, okay? Because I watched the rise of the beard. You know, I remember watching adverts when, you know, you saw a man, oh, you know, nobody on a TV advert ever had a beard when I was growing up, ever, because it was naff, okay? And then suddenly you started seeing a little bit of stubble about maybe 20 years ago. And now, of course, every fucking man in every fucking advert has got a beard, right? So I call them normal people now. Hipsters are now normal people, okay? But obviously, you know, I'm talking about the most fashionable people here because, you know, even art has got fashion in it. And so you've got to be aware that people get bored of the cycle of fashion. There's things that are fresh, you know, things get reinvented, and so it comes around. So you don't make things, for instance, that are fashionable now. If you want to be a groovy person, you've got to make things that are going to be fashionable in, I don't know, 3 years' time. But now we're in the internet, of course, that's 3 days' time, probably, isn't it? So me, when I was making pottery, you know, when I started, this is the first piece of pottery I ever made. I made it at evening classes, right? I didn't know that it was going to be this huge thing for me, that it was going to be the kind of center keystone of my career. I was just buggering about. And I was just trying to make it up as I go along. But I'm doing a show of my early work next year. And I noticed that all of the things that are in my work now were there at the beginning. You know, my voice was fairly well formed. You know, it was pretty incoherent. The vocabulary wasn't good. But the actual tone of voice, like, was there. You know, I was angry then. I was an angry young man. I mean, the people in the evening classes, they actually, some of them made a kind of delegation to the head of the college trying to get me removed from the evening class because a lot of my work was really offensive. You know, I was quite naughty. There was a lot of sex in it and, you know, things like that. And people got very, so this was the first thing I ever made. And then this was another early piece as well. Trendy and proud, okay? Because me and my friends, we found the idea of being fashionable quite hilarious. And this sort of distancing thing was very big for me. Like being able to ironically distance myself from the idea of being fashionable was very important in my work. So I was sort of like always interested in, keep an eye on what's meant to be groovy, but just make, you know, my biggest fear has always been being fashionable because it means other people, would be on my bandwagon. It's my bandwagon. Because sometimes I get students and they say, "Oh, Grayson, does it mean that now you've won the Turner Prize? Does it mean that ceramics is now going to be fashionable?" And I would get, "I've spoilt that gimmick. Sorry. I've taken it. I've got that one. Grayson Perry ceramicist. That's me. Like matching suits. Gilbert and Georgia got that one. Sharks. Damien Hirst. Balloon animals. Jeff Koons. They've all claimed their gimmick. Got to have a gimmick. Just find your own one." But yeah, pottery, I never thought that it would be a big thing for me. This is the biggest pot that I ever made, right? So I've become quite good at it over the years. I learn on the job. Everything I do, I learn on the job. I recommend it as a tactic, okay? Eventually, I mean, when I first made pots, they were really naffly made. They used to fall to bits. I used to, mend them with araldite before I put them on. And people used to think it was ironic. That I was ironically bad craftsman, that I was expressive. Nah, mate, I was just bad. Now, this pot here is probably about life size on the screen, so it's a big pot. Took me like 5 months to make, so I can now do that, but that's one I made for a show in Japan, and it's all about sort of class and consumerism, so it's got the menu cards from a little cafe I used to go to for my lunch, footballers. It's called What's Not to Like. What's not to like, It's saying to the consumer, because the classness. I'm absolutely obsessed with social class, and galleries. The people they find it hard to get a working class audience in. So I was trying to make a pot there. Oh, it's a lot of work in that pot, because a lot of arty people, they're scared of being popular. It's me. I'm always aiming at it. I want people to come up to me and go, see my work in a gallery. You're all ordinary Joe. And you come in, "Oh God, that's good. That's very pretty. That a lot of work in that." I don't want people to come into my exhibitions and think, "Oh, that was like doing me homework." A lot of exhibitions these days, like, "Oh my God, it's so depressing." And this is on top of the pot, is Alan Measles, my teddy bear. He's got his beer, his football, and his shopping. The holy triumvirate of popular culture. So he's sort of saying, but Alan Measles has been very important to me over the years. Here he is. He's as old as I am. And he's called Alan Measles because my neighbour's child was called Alan, and I had the measles when I was about 3. Trendy disease now, I believe. Gaining in popularity. The anti-vaxxers. Anyway, Alan Measles will have something to say about that, but he's basically my metaphor for God, and he crops up a lot in my work. Whenever I want to talk about belief or culture. So, I made that pot because I had a show in Japan, and I called it My Civilization. I like this idea that I was a one-man culture. And so I thought, I've got to have a religion. So who could be my God? Alan Measles. So here he is welcoming people into my show in Australia. They did an inflatable Alan Measles for the thing, got embroidery Alan Measles on a dress. We've got a 9/11 themed carpet Alan Measles. We've got handbag Alan Measles with his little pearl spot on the end of his knob, little bit of pre-cum. We got a medal Alan Measles. This is my most recent Alan Measles. I made this for my show in France, in Le Monet. They make medals in Le Monet. It's like the mint, and they wanted to make a medal, so I did. That's the artist's medal, Alan Measles. That's the artist's medal, and this is Japanese. This is another thing. This is a dogu. This is Dogu Alan Measles, gold Dogu Alan Measles. Here he is, look. On my point of power. It's what I wore to the opening of my show in Japan. And he is, in many ways, he's the king. When I was growing up, Alan Measles was very important to me because he was the king of my internal landscape. He was the benign dictator of my imaginary universe, if you know what I mean. So I projected onto him. That's why I use him as a god, because cuddly toys are a perfect metaphor for God, in that we grow up with them, like people who are religious, they grew up with their religion, and they project all their positive feelings onto the God. And that's what we do with our transitional objects, is what cuddly toys are. So that's the cuddly toy, basically a perfect metaphor. But so when I finished my therapy, I had 6 years of therapy back in the day, and I did this map because the first thing my therapist said to me was, you've given away a lot of your internal landscape, which is a kind of way of saying that that my kind of demons, my kind of the kind of psychologically, I'd given away, my power, my kind of, I wasn't fully myself because I had a lot of kind of shit going on. And so when I'd finished the therapy, I did this map of this is a map of my mind, this map of an Englishman, I did it. It was very important to me. And one thing when I was in therapy, I did a lot of dreaming. One interesting thing, we think one of the interesting things I found, because they were so important, I don't know how many of you have ever had psychotherapy, dreams are really, they're the royal road to the unconscious, Freud called them. They're really interesting. And I dreamt this artwork, okay? So I thought I'd make it, and it was a Tang Dynasty racing car. Okay, Tang Dynasty to anybody here, here's a Tang Dynasty bronze. It's from the British Museum. And so I dreamt that, and I put it in this shrine. So I was working out my shit, in an art. I got so much mileage out of therapy, I tell you. It's great. I got almost as much mileage out of that as I did out of Brexit. I tell you, I've had so much mileage out of Brexit. But you can see the car there. Look, it's on the shrine. It's in the middle of a shrine. There's me and my daughter. This is a long time ago now. This is 98, I think. So that's me and my daughter there visiting the shrine to Essex Man. Because in a way, it was a shrine to my father, okay? So he hovered like a kind of, he left when I was 4. So he was like this imaginary figure in many ways. I mean, Alan Measles was more realistic father figure than my real father. Because I didn't remember him at all. Like, he was just a kind of blur, Not that, it figures in my work at all. This is the motorbike that I made because when I wanted Alan Measles to be a god, I wanted him, him to become popular. And so I thought, well, nobody's going to come to him. He's got to go to the people, like the Pope. So this is Alan Measles' Pope-mobile, okay? So I took him on a journey, and when I was a child, he was always fighting the Germans because they were the perfect metaphor for evil, because this was not long after the war, you've got to remember, I'm that old. And what was I going to say? So, my stepfather metaphorically became the Germans. So we were fighting. So when Alan Measles, I thought, where am I going to take him? I'm going to take him to Germany, right? So on my special custom-made motorbike, all Alan Measles themed. Here I am, off to Germany. Bye, Alan. You can see Alan in the back there, look, in his little shrine. There we are. Look. That's the Neuschwanstein Castle. That's Mad Ludwig's castle, the famous one from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. You know that one? We went there because I thought there was a bit of a Chitty Chitty Bang Bang vibe in Bavaria. So we went to Germany, and we went to the twin town of where I grew. Here's me and Alan at Neuschwanstein. I'm dressed up as his bodyguard, by the way, because that was another thing that was odd, was that I was his bodyguard. I could never work that one out, but because he's a very precious fella. And here Here he is outside the Wieserkirche in Bavaria, a very famous pilgrimage church. So the pilgrims can get 2 for 1. Alan Measles outside, Jesus inside. So perfect. And he featured a lot in my show I did a few years ago now. What was that, 2011? At the British Museum, where I put together a show called The Tomb of the Unknown Craftsman. And Alan Measles was my metaphor for the god again. And of course, all those gods from all the different cultures in the British Museum. And Alan Measles is up there with them. So over the years, I've done a lot of different bits of cultural appropriation. Trendy word nowadays. With Alan Measles. And he's been Islamic, he's been Japanese, he's been Chinese, he's been Native American, he's had it all. And here is the show. So I collected about 130 objects that I chose from the British Museum collection and made a lot of artworks of my own, weaving them in throughout the show. I was very, very pleased. So there's things, and I was responding. So this was a tapestry I did called Map of Truths and Beliefs. It's got a map of the British Museum with Alan Measles right in the middle where the reading room is, and all the different words for the afterlife there. But that was based on this Buddhist painting. I think they're called a Gunga or something like that. I don't know, I can't remember now. But that was based on that. We've got a lot of different things. And it was also a kind of about this, when I was a child, I went to the British Museum, and I was very disappointed in it. Because the man in the lift said, what would you like to see? And I said, I love making models, because I loved Airfix models when I was a kid. And he said, well, we've got some model boats up in the Egyptian department, and they were like this. They were shit. Really basic. I was very disappointed. So when it came to my show, I thought I'm going to really make a proper model boat. So this is the Tomb of the Unknown Craftsman. It's made of cast iron. It's made of about 50 or 60 pieces. And it's made of casts of all the things in the British Museum. So I got them to make casts of a lot of the different things. There's an Ife head there. And you've got bits of sort of medieval crucifixes and Egyptian mummies. And there are bits of the Persian gates. This was a big silver Roman dish. And this thing in the middle there is the original tool. It's a real 250,000-year-old stone hand axe. So that's the original tool. So that's like the kind of the relic, the holy relic of the craftsman in many ways, the holy relic of the craftsman. And one of the things I put in this show was this headscarf. Headscarf showing all the Arab leaders. I think it's from like the 60s or 70s. And all the countries, I think there's something quite pertinent about that now. You know, but when this headscarf was made, it didn't have such resonance. But incredibly resonant. And me personally, I've got a thing about headscarves. Google headscarf fetish. You'll be surprised what comes up. Yeah, anything. But yeah, this is a headscarf I did for the Tate Modern. It's their bestseller. Cat Modern headscarf there. How to become an artist. Oops, this thing is very sensitive. Where are we going? Yeah, I've done a hijab. I did a hijab for my show about identity. This young lady here, Kaylee, she was from Kent, and she converted to Islam. It's quite an interesting story. And when we were making our TV show about identity, and I did a hijab about her. And here's the earliest photograph of me in women's clothes. Okay, this is the 70s, 1978, I would say that is about. You know, dressing up like my auntie. But I still do like a headscarf. This was about a few months ago in the West End on a little shopping trip. I still like dressing up. As I was coming to this place, I thought I'd better talk about fashion a bit. Clothes, because they're very important, you know, clothes. Because they're kind of, I always think of it like the front garden. You know, the front garden, we don't sit in the front garden and have a beer on the whole, but we do it for the street. You know, your front garden makes the street nice. So when people dress up for a party, it makes the party nice. So when people dress up in the street, it makes the street nice, a nice place to be. When people wear boring black clothes in the street, they're basically just a load of wheelie bins going past, aren't they? But I sometimes like to dress up like an ordinary lady. Here's me in my 30s when I went through my fetish period. Well, no, it wasn't a fetish period. I've always been a fetishist. You know, it's just that was a classic rubber fetish period, you know. There's lots of, I'm constantly amazed by what turns people on. It's one of my great interests in what weird things. Mohair, grandma's slippers, you know, fences. All true. Train crashes. Nope, true. Dangerous one to have that. Weddings. Weddings are big in the transvestite world. No one's as sexist as a transvestite. We like gender roles. I always describe myself as gender rigid. I signed up for the gender role. I want them to be very clearly delineated so I know I'm dressing up in the wrong clothes. And of course, the crack cocaine of femininity, the frilly little girl dress. It is literally, this is the crack cocaine of femininity, that is. Whoa! And this was about 2002, I'd say, about that time. And up to that point, you know, I'd designed all my own clothes, started designing my own clothes. And I was on a bus. And what I want to say is one of the creative forces that we all have is that you've got to take the opportunities when they come along. You know, you don't wait for, it's like with people with their boyfriend or their girlfriend, right? They're waiting for Mr. or Miss Right. No, mate, get someone in the ballpark and work on it, okay? You know, there's two sorts of people in the world. There's perfectionists and there's people who say, that'll do. The latter are always, always, always happier. a part of that, if you're in the creative business, take advantage of the opportunity. Don't wait for the perfect thing to come along. Just take advantage of what comes along. But luckily for me, the perfect thing did come along. I was on the bus one day, dressed up in my kind of housewifely garb, going shopping in the West End, and I bumped into Natalie. Now, some of you may know Natalie. She's taught at St Martin's College since 1964, okay? She's brilliant, and I knew her from a friend, and so she looked me up and down and said, I think my students could do better than that. Anyway, yes, they can. So this was my last year's crop of dresses. So every year now we run a course. I'm just about to start it on Thursday, this year's one, and it's called Make a Lovely Dress for Grayson Perry, and all the students make me a lovely dress and I buy it off them. So it's a good reciprocal arrangement, and it's part of the course, and I give out little trophies. These are the Claires. They're like the Oscars of the student fashion world. The little trophy, I give them every year, and I do a little fashion show, a very slow fashion show in the course at the end of every year. And then I give the prizes. That was a girl, what was her name? Sarah from Iran. She won one year with her Bosch-themed negligee hairy catsuit number. But they've certainly pushed me over the years, and they've done me some real red carpet service. This is a beautiful evening gown made out, but it's decorated with the breakfast menu from a greasy spoon. I love that. It's fantastic. With those kind of splodges of beaded egg on the shoulders. Like clown look. Obviously, as you can tell, the clown look is big for me because it's colourful, attention grabbing, and really naff and embarrassing. So I love anything like that. The clown look. That's me next to the Sydney Opera House in my nappy clown outfit. I love that. So it's all good. Yeah. There's me the other week at the Olivier's in my what they call it, manga-themed waterproof cape, because it was a bit rainy that day. Where are we? Oh, look. Dyed chicken vegas. I'm looking very modern there. And this is the moment when the whole enterprise of the student fashion competition came together, all in a nexus of perfection, right? This is me on the day I won my first BAFTA, right? I'm on the red carpet at the BAFTAs wearing this dress by Morgan, a French student that was on the course. And it looks fairly innocuous, but if you look at it really closely, it's got a great big cock in diamante that goes up the front. And then all of the pearls are like the jizz, right, going around the hood. Anyway, that picture ended up in the Daily Mail website going, oh, Grayson Perry in tasteful beige and black. Perfect moment, absolutely perfect. I love it. God bless them. And here's my latest outfit that I designed for myself. I had a little go at designing my PVC fabric and made myself a lovely snowsuit. Oh my God, this thing goes. Anyway, here we go. So I just thought I'd talk about the sort of my creative process a bit. How are we doing for time? Am I going on? Am I banging on? Oh, good. Yeah. What? Good? Fine. You're fine. I'm fine. Yeah. Good. Okay. This is me and Charles Holland. He's an architect. We worked together on the house for Essex. We were looking at various sorts of buildings. I got asked by Living Architecture. So I always liked a stave church in Norway, stave church. I love the look of those. And so here's some of my early sketches for what I fancied doing. We passed backwards and forwards a lot of sketches. And Charles's job, he's a brilliant architect, his job was to give it some architectural dignity. So here's his sketch that he kind of pulled back from it. This is the actual cut through the building. I wanted it to be, so his brilliant idea was to make it like a kind of series of getting smaller and smaller of the same building. So it's like the same little building 4 times, just getting smaller and smaller as it goes down, sort of thing. And here's the finished thing. And it's in Rabness in Essex, and you can rent it for the weekend if you've got the money. It's a holiday let, and you can live in an artwork. And what it is really, I call it the Taj Mahal of the River Stour, okay? Because it's a building dedicated to a lost love, okay? So it's an imaginary woman, and I wrote a whole long epic poem about a woman called Julie, and biographical poem, and then the whole artwork and the whole house is based, because all religious buildings got to have a story, haven't they? Narrative, the basis of religion, got to have a story. So I thought I'll make one up, because I hate to tell you this, Somebody made up all the religious stories as well. Hate to tell you that. Keep it quiet though, you know. Woo! Nothing binds a tribe like an irrational belief. But yeah, so house for Essex, and there it is, all tiled, because that was a good way of covering it. We like that. And it's here you can see very clearly here the 4 different sections, and it's all got the gold roof. And there's the Julie tiles on the outside. They were kind of like based on some tiles I saw on a kind of ancient old stone stove from Germany, but also they're a bit like Schlangengigs. You see these on Irish castles and churches. They're like, they don't know if they're ancient fertility goddesses or whether they're a warning against lustfulness. But so you know, I like that idea, the power woman. And Julie, in Julie's life, she got married twice. This is her first husband. He was called Dave. He was in a rock band called the Riders of Rohan. This is them in the 70s. This is actually a tapestry. It's 4 meters high, so it's really big, and it's in a very small bedroom. Because you can, if you look at this, you can see how big that. Oops, shit. You can see. Sorry, there we go. That's the second marriage, looking through the windows above the bed, and you know we've got some nice things on the roof. Come on, here we go. Nice things on the roof, shiny things on the roof. He was very into Vikings and old mythology, so it's got some sort of reference to that in it. He's made up as well, of course. And then there's an altar inside. Here's the big statue of Julie. And these little balconies here, they go through into the bedrooms. So it's like a 2-bedroomed property. We've got tapestries telling the life of Julie. We've got wallpaper on the ceiling that's telling the life of Julie. It's all there. And you can listen to her records while you're looking at it. We've got a whole record selection in the place, and also all her books. And that moped's very important. That is what killed her. She got run over by a delivery moped. But when I made the TV program about the house, I took 6 women from Essex called Julie. They're all called Julie. And I took them on the pilgrimage of Julie's life from where she was born in Canby Island to where the house is. And this woman here, the one who's standing next to me, the small dark woman, who's called Julie, by the way, we all had a drink on the Saturday evening, and she sort of looked at me and said, Grayson, this house and everything, is it about your mother? And I was like, oh, fuck. She was very perceptive, and I was basically trying to rewrite my mother's life. Now, I know you're a young, groovy, techie audience here, right? I'm sure you're all completely adept. But one of the things I often kind of think, you know, as an older person, I'm 59, you know, I bestride the internet in a way that I was 35 when the internet came along. So I remember what analog life was like, but I'm also young enough to have kind of embraced it quite a lot. And often I think that crafts people are a bit, you know, they kind of sometimes, you know, they romanticize the handmade. Me, I totally love it. You know, it gives me an opportunity to make things that I would never be able to make normally, mainly scale. Because, you know, to fill a room this size normally before I got into digital stuff would take me 18 months, 2 years of an exhibition. Now I could probably put on a decent exhibition in a space like this in 9 months if I really banged it out. You know, some big tapestries, big prints, big, because art galleries are so big. They're cruel to artists who make little things. They're so big. So I do a lot of stuff on my drawing tablet, designing prints and tapestries on the drawing tablet. I love it. And I love the way that it makes you think about drawing because it's all possible. You know, if you've just got a pencil, you can just make pencil marks. But when you've got that thing, you can do anything with it. So it really makes you think about what the hell do you want? It really throws it back on yourself. It's very interesting. You know, you have to think, what is my style? I don't know. I'll Google it. Here's the loom in Belgium that weaves my tapestries. It weaves a tapestry as big as this wall in about 2 days. It's very fast. And prints now, I'm getting into big prints. This is a bit of a woodblock print. I design them on the computer and then they get routed by a CNC machine and then they're hand printed with a spoon, literally. So the back of a spoon, they put the paper on top of the woodblock and rub it with a spoon. I love that. You know, they go from like super high tech to a spoon. I love it. Got to have, and this is the finished print. This is called Selfie with Political Causes. So it's about that kind of virtue signaling that we all love to do now, saying how right on we are. Yeah. Whenever I meet a young artist now, I always ask them, I always say, what sort of artist are you? And they always go, oh, I'm a political artist. And I say, oh, you mean a left-wing artist, don't you? I've not met the other half yet. There's a gap in the market. If you want to make some money, start doing Tory art now. I am. I'm not joking. Here's another little bit of high tech. This is a little sculpture I made. A little fetus sculpture there in the middle as part of a piece of jewelry that I wanted to do. Here's the man who's come to scan it with his scanning gun. Literally sort of sprayed it. And it was amazing. Like you see the thing build up on the screen. It was like having when your baby's and it's pregnant. You know, you can see it build up in it. It's a very interesting process. And then here's the finished thing. So that fits in the palm of your hand. It's a little womb with a little fetus inside it. I made it for the last TV series for a little thing we did about surrogacy. And it's called It Takes a Village to Raise a Child. And another thing I would say, another thing about, you know, in being creative is get physical. I like my mountain biking. That's how I keep myself in my size, whatever it is that I am. I've got a big wardrobe. I've got to stay the same size. It's really important. But yeah, be physical. You know, I like my mountain biking. And I think we over-privilege the intellect in our, you know, high art often. You know, I think that because we all think we have to go to university now. You know, half the country are encouraged to go to university. And I often think, I don't know if that's right for everyone. You know, and I think often university is a lazy way for employers to find out who they want to give a job to. Ooh. Well, suddenly that student debt's got a bit heavier. But, you know, I think that it's interesting. I think because we have bodies and we have emotions, you know, and these things often, you know, these are part of, we're animals. And I think that, you know, it's really surprising how, you know, it's well known physical exercise is good for your mental health, but it's also good for your creativity. I have lots of ideas when I'm out. And also being emotionally literate as well is really, really important. And also I like showing off, of course. Here's me on stage now. It's a big part of what I like to do. I get really passionate about showing off. It's good fun. Okay, and the last thing I want to say to you, right, is about, you know, if you think of Brexit as like a big fuck you to us lot, because we are all in the bubble, aren't we? The art world sort of operates the same in many ways. You know, if you think about how it goes, like, you know, oh, I'm the young trendy artist. I'm going to show those. I'm going to show the man. I'm going to show the establishment how groovy I am, and it's going to be like a revolution. But the thing is, with the creative sector, they love all that, and so they're looking down at the young artists coming along. They're going, oh yeah, nice rebellion, welcome in. You know, so it's really interesting, that relationship between the establishment and young, creative, you know, starter offer people. It's interesting. When I always think of this advert in the 90s. I think it was the early 90s. This advert was on for Baby Sham, which was like an early alka pop. There was this advert where this couple came into a bar, and the husband, the boy or rather, he sort of goes, "What would you like to drink, darling?" And she said, "Oh, I'd love a Baby Sham." And of course, Baby Sham was like the naffest drink you could possibly drink at the time. You know, it was really, really unfashionable. So the whole bar, it's quite a groovy bar, i.e. everybody's wearing black, looks at this woman like in horror. "Oh my God, she's ordered a Baby Sham!" And the barman politely pours her out the Baby Sham, like slightly reluctantly. And then this really cool dude comes into the bar, and he sees it on the, and he goes, he said, "You know what? I fancy a Baby Sham." And then, of course, everybody in the bloody bar wants a Baby Sham. And I was that woman ordering the Baby Sham when I started doing pottery. And that's who you want to be. You want to be the woman ordering the Baby Sham. Because you just wait for the cool dude to come along, and I'm sure he's on Instagram. And my last slide basically was, I think, one of my seminal works, here we are, which was called Boring Cool People. Because I think, we've all got an image in our mind about how we should be. And I think in a way it's quite interesting. You know, we hold that up. You know, we've got a kind of ghost, and sometimes it's quite good to take that out and examine it. Say, do I really want to live up to that standard, or do you know? Cool people, you know, they're quite straight in some ways. If something's cool, it's already dying. You know, what we should be doing, the creatives, we're making the things that are going to be cool, you know, when the civilians like it. Anyway, thank you. It's sort of, it's good to find, I mean, that's what therapy is about. Basically, it's like you take all the tools out the tool shed and then only put the ones that work back. You see what I mean? So you find out what works for you, and often you find out, actually, oh, that person's not good for me. I'm not gonna meet them anymore. Or that's that habit I've got of doing that thing, of losing my temper or whatever it is, it's not working for me. But what you know, who we are, it's very hard to look at yourself. But I mean, there is a phrase in therapy like psychological mindedness. Like, so I almost feel like it's an internal CCTV camera inside, and you can see yourself thinking and feeling, and you learn to become more self-aware, and you catch yourself doing the thing that never used to work. I mean, there's the cliche of therapy is that road less traveled thing, you know, where you got a choice, and you're going down the road, and there's a big hole, and you fall in it. And then the second time you go down the road, you see the hole, but you still fall in it. And the third time you go down the road and you see the hole and you walk round the hole. And the fourth time is you go a different road. You know, and that's the kind of process of self-discovery, is like, what's working for me? You know, and it could be anything. One person, you know, there's no prescription about what works. But finding out what works for you, yeah, and try new stuff. I love, one of the things that I get really bored of, so I'm not constantly learning new skills, you know, different parts of the world. You know, like, I'm very into performing at the moment. It's my new hobby. So I'm kind of learning skills around that, and it's sort of interesting. Especially when you get old, it's good for you. But I don't know if I know myself. Sometimes I'll be horrified. My daughter will be rolling her eyes. Ooh. Well, I'm a very good hypocrite. And I think that idea that we're all consistent all the time, you know, that sounds quite hard work, you know. So I don't worry about it, I just do it, you know. If I'm doing it, then it's done by me, isn't it? And so that's fine. And people often talk about, you know, being dressed up as an alter ego, and I go, nap. Because for me, mental health is about bringing the whole of yourself all the time to any given situation. So I try to, you know, I don't have a separate thing over there that does that. So I try to be all myself all the time as I can be, and be as open. And, you know, if something's not working in public, then maybe I shouldn't have it at all. You know, maybe it's bad. Maybe that's the kind of thing my daughter would roll her eyes at. So I don't know. I mean, I don't see myself having a multifarious identity. I just see myself being Grayson in different clothes, doing different things, whether I'm on a motorbike or whether I'm making art or whether I'm standing here or whatever. You know, I don't edit myself. I try to get myself in a place where I don't have to worry about saying the wrong thing, and that, you know, that I second guess what people want to hear. Do you know what I mean? I've always found being open and vulnerable is a good thing. You know, I think a lot of people are scared of being open and vulnerable because they think that, you know, people dislike them for it. But actually, vulnerability is the key to good relationships. If we expose ourselves to other people, then that allows them, you know, that allows them to be affected by us, and also us to be affected by them. It's sort of like a kind of mutual impact sort of thing. And so the more open we are, and you'll be surprised, and men sometimes they can be quite kind of closed, I wouldn't know that, but you'd be surprised when I'm talking to groups of men sometimes, if I sort of say, oh yeah, when I do that, yeah, I feel really shit when I do that, and they all go, oh, yeah, me too, I'm really worried about my prostrate too, yeah, or whatever it is, you know. So it's like someone's given them permission to be open. And it's quite often, so I try to be the person that gives permission to talk about stuff. I'm always interested in that sort of, you know, what I don't even know if there's any taboos anymore nowadays, because everybody's talking about everything, you know. Does that answer your question? I don't know. I don't see myself as having more than one identity. It's all, it's like everybody's, it's a portmanteau. Well, I've got my wife and my daughter, obviously top of the list. I'd be in real trouble if they weren't. I'd be married to the wrong person, wouldn't I? And I've got, like most people, I have like a few close friends. You know, I think none of us, you know, in many ways have more than like half a dozen very close friends. And then we have, you know, our Dunbar number of 150 people that we kind of vaguely know, we can remember their face and hopefully their name. But what could I change about masculinity? I think the trouble is, one of the things, we talk about gender, it's such a loaded subject nowadays. I see gendered behavior like a kind of, like you're going through the wardrobe. You know, we've all got this wardrobe available to us. Some people think we haven't, but we have. You've got this sort of rack of kind of outfits almost. And anybody can try any of them on. But you don't have to sort of say, you know, you don't have to be a special sort of person. So it's like masculinity, I often think of it like a wetsuit. You know, like the old school manly masculinity, I always think, it's like a wetsuit. You put it on at the weekend, mate, but don't bring it to the office. You know, if you want to go on your motorbike, you know, like I play at being a man when I'm on my motorbike, you know, but it's, you know, it's open to everybody, male, female, anybody. So there's a whole rack of behaviors you can have a go at, and you can swap and choose and pick and choose. And it doesn't matter, you don't have to be fixed. I think this whole idea that you have to be A to behave like B, I just think is bollocks, you know. So it's sort of, you know, if you like playing with Barbie dolls, anybody can like playing with Barbie dolls. You don't have to be a girl to like playing with Barbie dolls. See what I mean? So masculinity, the thing I might throw out with it, is this idea that it's only open to males. You know, women can have a go at that stuff as well. Why not? Or females, you've got to be so careful nowadays. Cut all of that stuff out of this vlog now, because my Twitter feed will be full of people going, "You're not right, I'm right." I watch the telly like everyone else.
Is the telly?
You know, whenever you see Pointless on the telly, I'm sure all of you watch Pointless on the telly, right? And Alexander said, and hello, number three, couple number three. What is it you do? Oh, I'm an astrophysicist. And what do you do in your time off? Oh, I love to go hiking and bird watching and cycling. It's like, no, you don't, mate. Most of the time, like most people in the world, you're watching the telly. Because that's what we do. Or we going like this, down the, you know. One of the two, you know, that's what we do now. So I zone out like everyone else. I like watching the telly, you know, and watch the same sort of programs that a lot of people make. I like to be in touch with, you know, what. Interesting. I knew this magazine editor once, and he and you know, like that classic thing is, how do you know someone hasn't got a telly? They'll tell you. And he said, I haven't got a telly, and he said, but I've got to get one back. So in a way, I like the telly, you know, because it gives me an idea about, you know, what's going on in the world and what's the groovy things that everybody's watching and stuff interesting. So I just zone out in front of the telly like everyone else. I love telly. I make telly. I have to keep up with it. You know, it's interesting. I think if you're going to do anything, you have to be a consumer of it as well. I'm always really suspicious of thin cooks. Our next series, which we're shooting this year, it does kind of is about, it's sort of partly about that. So it does touch on a lot of the same stuff, but we're doing it in a different place. We're not doing it in Britain. So, but yeah, it's a gift that keeps on giving, the class system. I go to foreign countries and I'm doing a talk, you know, and I say, this is a, you know, work I did about the class system in Britain. And I say, and they go, oh, we are a classless society. You know, no society on earth is classless. There's always a status system. And, you know, and the more, if you think you're equal, then it's probably operating in a really damaging, unconscious way.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, there are certain countries that sort of think that they're the land of opportunity. And mate, they're the ones with the most rigid class systems. Because it's interesting, because we're all, in some way or else, we're all kind of trying to kind of, find our place in the world and where do we fit, and we give it off in little signals. And now what's interesting is we're in a kind of post-material world in many ways. So now the kind of people who want to assert their status aren't doing it by having a flashy car or wearing particularly flashy clothes. It's like carrying your tote bag with your yoga mat and your recyclable coffee cup in it, on your way to your kind of class of XYZ to educate yourself even more. And that's like, look at me, aren't I good, aren't I big, da 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 da. Ooh.
Exactly the answer I was looking for. Thank you.
Was that the answer you were looking for? Yeah, because it's sort of interesting now. We're in a sort of, so you don't buy flash stuff anymore, but you buy stuff that shows, how much you care. Ooh, that is a really it's a very emotional question, that one, because you sort of think, oh God, I don't know. I think I'd be, if I met my younger self, he'd be so fucked up and scared and fragile that I would be kind of like really, I'd probably be a little like, oh God, do we have to talk to this guy? Because I'd be probably like, oh, Mr. Brewery. And I wonder, because I'm not going to make I'm not going to say, because a lot of people in the creative field are scared of psychotherapy because they think that their quirks and their kind of hang-ups and their dysfunction is their creativity. But I can tell you that there's plenty of bad artists who have mental health issues, and there's plenty of good ones that are sane and happy. So I don't correlate the two at all. But I'd be kind of like, my life journey, if you like, is there. And so I'd be scared of disturbing the recipe, because there was grit in the oyster and I'm still mining it now. So if I'd probably say it's going to be all right. But then the fear factor, I was there, I was, poor, squatting, didn't have a clue, in the moment, doing all the things that we all do when we're in our 20s or whatever. So I'd say nothing to my 20-year-old self. I mean, to a young person, if I meet them now, I just say, turn up on time, be nice, don't be the arsehole. Nobody wants to be the arsehole, and put in the hours. But work hard because it's a long game we're playing. It's not like instant reward. And find your voice. And that's the thing you have to find. And it takes a time sometimes. There is no recipe, but trust in your intuition, and having a punt, take risks, be brave, and you're gonna fuck up. These are just really basic kind of things that you would find on the first page of Google if you Google the words creativity, which brings it round to a nice circle. Thank you.